All right. Just to let you all know, I'm trying something new with sharing screen. So it's a new one for me. I have researched so many YouTube pages. It's crazy. Let's go ahead and thank you all again for saying yes to my request of being on the reference committee for here at the Michigan Dental Association House of Delegates. I just want to give you an overview, and at the end, we'll go through and answer any questions. I'll click back out of the screen share and go through and answer those as we go. Or probably if something comes up, you see something, you can even ask me while we're talking, because for once I can actually see everyone on the side. Usually I'm just locked into my screen. It throws me off. So yay, YouTube. Thank you to all. All right, first, reference committee. When is it and who serves on it? So as you know, as you heard, some of you are newer in the House. Some of you have been in the House for a few years here and there. The reference committee convenes following the first meeting of the House of Delegates and the candidate forum for the MDA elected officials. So this will probably be in the afternoon. We've got it timed out. I want to say at 12:30 is what we're looking for how it'll fall on the Saturday, which is the first day of the first meeting of the House this year, coming up here in April. Made up of delegates and alternate delegates. So this one, some of the other committees have very specific where it could be delegates only. This one is split between delegates and alternates. Serving on this committee, this says it in the bylaws, but I will tell you, really serving on this committee is one of the most important duties for a delegate or alternate. So why do we have it? You know, the primary duty of the reference committee is to recommend to the House of Delegates an appropriate course of action or matters. So realistically, you're going to have before you, when you have your meeting, you'll have before you all the resolutions that are coming before the House, and you're going to take testimony on it. But the most important thing with the reference committee, or one of them, is that it allows the membership of the association to voice its opinions, its concerns, and recommendations about the resolutions and documents that are before the House. This committee, because you're hearing the testimony, has the ability to save hours of time on the floor of the House during deliberations. And yes, hours of time. You know, when you're hearing people ahead of time, you're going to be evaluating those and giving recommendations out as to how you think the House, from when you take the testimony in, giving them the recommendation out of voting yes or no, if a change needs to be made, in hearing that. And that's what you're here for, and that's the role of the reference committee. But I know in the past, this one for MDA, but also I know at the ADA level, I've served on a reference committee there. You're cutting down, there we have a lot more resolutions than we do at a state level. Although I know some states that go through and they move through about 35 to 40 resolutions. The way our governance sets up, we don't have all that type. The board manages many of those. And so that's why the most important stuff regarding the bylaws, which is in the House is in charge of, comes to you all. So let's go through and jump to our chairperson's role, because our chairperson is on. So let's go through. The chairperson will preside at the opening meeting of the reference committee and the executive session that follows immediately after the meeting. The chairperson carries out the usual duties of the chair in maintaining order and decorum, securing identification of speakers, their name and component, facilitating the transaction of business, and in ruling on length and pertinence of discussion. So typically, you know, for those who've been in the House before, which is most of you there, this is where the chair will read at the outset, very specifically, and we do have a script where it says, please state your name and the component you're from. And we also ask that they will go through and let us know whether they're in favor or against a resolution, or if they have a question. And that is where if a question comes up, it's relayed through the chair to someone, to one of the staff members. For MDA, it might be where you have the committee chairs of the different committees of the House, or from the board. So there's more information if people want to carry on and get those questions answered. So the big thing, as I said, with reference committee, and I put it as listening to the voices of the association, the hearing that you will convene and that you will be, usually you'll be sitting in front of the whole group, okay? But don't worry, you're all going to be on screen and everyone will get to see you. So look sharp. Not worried with this group. There's a couple people I didn't ask because they wouldn't look sharp like you all look. But you know, the hearing provides the opportunity for delegates and other association members to present their views on proposed resolutions. Now, to let you all know that all members of the House will be granted and given access in a separate code. So you'll be signing in for seeing the reference committee. It's separate from the login that you'll have for the House of Delegates. But also we're allowing, and we do have it available, that if any member wants to be a part of the reference committee, that they will be given their own login information so they can participate in this. Last year, we didn't have opportunity to do that based on the limitations we had in dealing with Zoom. This year, by the investment we made to work with Lumi, that the training is coming up on here in April, but that using Lumi, we're going to be able to have it where everyone is able to, who wants to come in, can come in and participate in that. So that's one of the good steps from last year. And one of the reasons this year's virtual house is going to be hands above last year. We've had time to prepare, and I'd rather have 6-7 months than 6 weeks. So that's one part, but that way you can hear from the entire association. So during the association, during the meeting, those members can all, as we said, ask questions about resolution, offer comments and express their opinions. And association officers, I said, committee chairs or staff members may also present relevant information. As your house is, although this reference committee hears from the entire association, is not limited to just the members of the house. So let's get to everyone's role when it comes to the hearing for what your role is going to be. First, listen. Be an impartial listener to the testimony given. Always note whether the speaker is in favor or against a resolution. If you need to ask for clarifications from the members giving testimony, if you're uncertain about what they said, but important here is you're not here to debate them. I think this is where the clarification and what's point 2 there is, were they in favor or against a resolution? I'm sure you may have heard somebody get up and talk one time and they get done and you don't know whether they were for or against it. I've seen it a number of times, and it's just kind of sad because you want to know, what are they speaking for or what are they speaking against? And in the training that I know you'll all be at next week, Tuesday, for what we have, and one of the parts is how to prepare if you're going to give testimony. And we had a great presentation for our board, and I'm bringing that information to you all as part of that, because when somebody gives testimony, whether in the reference committee or at the House of Delegates, we want them to be prepared. Next, be warm and friendly with members giving testimony. They can't hear you sigh. They probably will see your eyes roll. So be nice. This goes back to the first part, and I always say, be nice. In a presentation we just did, I did have a picture of Dalton from the movie Roadhouse. You can't go wrong with Patrick Swayze in any presentation I say. But in this one, just being nice, and head bobs are good, and nodding, and, you know, whether it's an approval, but you're listening. And that's, like I said, being an impartial, but also active listener. Last, take notes. You know, if you'll be there on your Zoom, take notes about what members are giving testimony are saying, where they are from, and suggestions that they are giving. This is where I've learned, and from the time I've served on a reference committee, we don't see it as much in our MDA house that in the years I've been speaker, or even from before, that I've seen it since in the past 10 years. But one thing I always notice, if you have a bunch of people all getting up from the same place and saying, we don't like it, we don't like it, we don't like it, they might have all their delegates and people coming on, but everyone else might like it. And so hopefully you'll get testimony both ways in regards to that. People will be for or against, but I always look, is it a regional problem or where is it coming from? But that's just, you know, you all will need to decide. I'm not going to be in the virtual room with you. I'll be available to answer questions if needed, but that's one thing I always want to take heart in, especially at the national level. We've seen that, but in ours, I haven't. But that's one thing I always say: take notes on, you know, what they say, where they're from. So, after the reference committee hearing is done, we will go through, and you all will separate. There will be a separate sign-in for you to go into the executive session. I think that's right, Michelle. You'll have that for them. And of course, I'm throwing Michelle under the virtual bus here because she's probably muted.
Yes, we'll have that for them.
Thank you, Michelle. So you'll go into executive session. So this is the, for those who are old enough, which is none of you, maybe Brian, might be about it, the great show Get Smart, where you have the cone of silence that'll come down. So yeah, executive session is just like going to Vegas. It stays in executive session. So you're in there to debate and review what people have talked about during the reference committee. So following completion, the committee meets for executive session to determine what recommendations it will make for the House of Delegates for the second session of the House that occurs on that'll occur on Sunday. Only the reference committee and the appropriate staff are present at this meeting. So you have Michelle and April will be there. I'll be available, but not in that. They know how to get a hold of me. Michelle, is there anyone else, just the two of you, or we also have Jennifer?
No, just April and I.
Just April and you. You two, by the way, for the reference committee, you've got the two rock stars. They will help you through and get you taken care of here with it. So we have right now, there'll be two resolutions coming before you, resolutions 3 and 4, which are membership bylaws changes. And so the recommendations regarding each resolution. So when coming out of yours, you all will decide the following. Are you going to recommend the House adopt the resolution, not adopt the resolution, refer the resolution, which means send it to the board, or last, adopt a substitute resolution written by the reference committee in lieu of a similar? If we get to the point where you're looking at substituting, for sure, Michelle and April will be helping you with that, or I'll be called in to help as needed as well. But as I said, you've got the two resolutions right now, and we'll work from those as the plan. I've heard nothing from any other delegations yet. I know we're getting some of the caucuses are meeting, which is great, if there's anything that comes up. So we'll know those ahead, so that'll help prep you. So let's move on from here. And just so you know, even though when you get done with the executive session, so Michelle and April will type up all your recommendations, and that's what will be sent out to the House of Delegates. So that's what they'll be before them on Sunday at the second house. But once you're done and signed off on that, the job's not done. At the second meeting, you still are there. The chairperson is going to go through and read in the consent calendar as well as the resolutions with the reference committee recommendations. So the chair reads those in. And so you're still on the clock though on that day for all of you though. Once the chairperson has introduced the resolution, so let's say they say we have resolution 6 and they read what it is with a reference committee recommendation to vote yes. Then it's to me. For that, the chair hands it off to me and I take it from there. But within that, any members of the House can go to a microphone and debate that again. Because at the reference, there's not to be debate at the committee hearing you have, but when it gets to the House, that's when they can debate the merits of it, pro or con. So the other part is that the big thing is that if your discussion was and your recommendation, that all members of the committee are free to reply at that point to any questions or to comment as well. The chairperson should be prepared to comment on the position the committee has taken. As we said, the reference committee recommended to vote yes or to approve this resolution. But if the members of the committee want to make a comment saying, we heard testimony in regards to this, and this is why we recommended it, you could do that as well. So let me stop share, jump back out. I know I go fast with a lot of this stuff. That's why our court reporter who records everything, she and I have an agreement. I will speak slowly at the House, but I also want to get you all out and going here this evening too. Any questions on anything I've kind of jumped on so far? I'm open to any questions.
I have a comment.
Please, Michelle.
So once the committee comes out of executive session, April and I are going to ask probably for at least an hour where we can sit down and create the report and then have everybody come back into the meeting. Number one, we'll email you the report, but then to come back and review it one last time before it's finalized. And we usually have to get the signature of the chair, but can we take a verbal on that, speaker?
I believe we can, yes.
This year. So I just wanted to know that there may be a little break there in between your executive session meeting and when you finalize the report.
Right, because right now we have the reference committee meeting at 12:30, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. She has a schedule always to her right.
I don't, but it sounds great.
Okay, so let's say the reference committee goes till from 12:30 to maybe 1:15. I don't anticipate it, but you never know. So probably at, let's say 2:15, that'll give time for Michelle and April to convene. And both, just so you know, April, Michelle, we have Jennifer, and we have one other from MDA team members, and I will be up at the building in Okemos. So they'll get working on it and they'll reconvene back just as a quick Zoom to confirm where it's at. And so you all know that you're agreeing and saying yes, and we'll do a virtual. And maybe for that meeting, Michelle, I'll jump in for that one. And that way I'm seeing it as yes. And I'm comfortable taking a verbal yes, we approve of this message part, I think is what that'll be. And then that way it can be transmitted to the House. Now in the afternoon, we do have set up times between 2 and 4 o'clock, right, Michelle?
Yeah.
For the caucuses to meet with the candidates, the trustee candidates. So it might be during part of that, we might need you to jump out to have that quick meeting. It sounds to me that it might not take more than 5 or 10 minutes, if that, but that will be one thing you'll need to watch for and be ready for. And we put together the meetings for the currently 4 trustee candidates. And so what it'll probably be is half the caucuses will meet from 2 to 3 with the candidates. The other ones will meet them from 3 to 4. So that way all the candidates meet all the caucuses. And also we don't have where somebody has to come back like an hour and a half later. Michelle got that worked out perfectly. So that'll be the one part for you all to watch. But in the afternoon, obviously I expect that everyone will be meeting with the trustee candidates during their assigned times. But then if you're on the first set, you might have to jump out and do that and come back in to hear them later. So thanks, Michelle, for pointing that out.
You're welcome. I don't anticipate that it's going to take us long to write that report right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, unless we get a ton more resolutions.
And by a ton, how many do you mean? No.
Like another 3, 4, 5.
Right. Good. All right. Other questions? All right. Oh, Brian, come on down. Oh, by the way, Brian Rathke, please introduce yourself to the group. Where are you from? What do you do?
I'm Brian Rathke, and I apologize for being a few minutes late. I misread that. I was flying in from Elk Rapids. I have 2 offices, one in Bel Air, one in Elk Rapids. I'm in Northern Michigan here. I'm a general practitioner. Thank you, Todd, for getting us all together, and I apologize for my tardiness. That was 100% my fault, and I do apologize.
Brian, we've all done it. Well, maybe just me. Everyone else has been good.
My question is kind of lateral and probably nothing that we want to spend too much time on, but I did have someone call me today with some concerns and wants to possibly write a resolution. Do you think that's something I should address? We had a pre-caucus meeting the other day in a caucus, or would you like me to call you on the side privately? He's not asking for a vote on anything, more so to form potentially a study group. He's somebody that you know who's very involved, and he just happened to call me on the side today, and I thought I'd mention it to you.
Text me.
Okay,
that's fine. You know how to get a hold of me. Yeah, yep. Everyone, you all. I hope we all have my cell phone number. Yeah, if questions come up, if they're looking to do something in that regard, you know, if it's not a resolution to go before the House, right, Brian?
It could potentially be, but probably not. He just had some concerns that he wanted expressed, and possibly to ask for a study group and possibly a resolution to be voted on at the House maybe next year.
Okay. Yeah, let me know on the side, and I'll work with Michelle. I'll let her. We can work together on that. I've got time. So yeah, drop me a text, or we can set up time. I can't tonight. I've got a 7 o'clock concert. But if not, yeah, give me a heads up on that, and then I'll work with Michelle tomorrow. I've got tomorrow morning free.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Other questions? All right, cool. All right, if y'all get bored tonight, Michelle, I'm sure we'll have this online so you can watch this exciting video all over again if you want to fall asleep with that. But again, I want to thank everyone for helping out and saying yes when I called to help out with this. As I said, the reference committee for me does the yeoman's work. When we're in person, it's a lot different as well as with everything. And I certainly look forward to 2022's House of Delegates when we're in person in Detroit. Yes, Detroit.
No way.
Is the plan. What? I'm right. I got it right for once. Yay. But I know that's what we're looking for. But this year, like I said, if we see other resolutions, Michelle, the one part actually to all of you as well, I want you to do realize, is that for resolution 4, Michelle, is the changes that are coming to the background statement? Okay, so resolution 4, we had some questions that came up. And so with that in particular, the MDA team is rewriting and crafting to get some of the corrections made for the background statement on resolution 4. That will be noted in the delegate digest. You all get your information that way. I do strongly recommend that for the resolutions that will be before you, you read those, you understand those. On the 2 we currently have, though, it would be a good idea for attending the forum next week or on the 29th. Is that right, Michelle? 29?
29.
Yeah. 29th, the MDA House of Delegates Bylaws Forum, because some of those questions that might come up will be the same statements that you're going to hear during your reference committee hearing. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to see the bylaws forum, because after last year's House, where the reference committee heard, I think, 2 statements of testimony. And then we had a whole lot of people that jumped in later on Sunday. Next week, reference committee is on my agenda for what I'm going to talk about. How to give testimony is going to be on there. I want to get this stuff worked out so people can get answers and not have to get them during the House as best as possible. It's not that I'm saying I don't want people to debate and give testimony, but I want to make sure people can get answers well in advance. And that's what this year is going to be about with the House of Delegates, the bylaws forum. And then making sure that the reference committee that you all are given the information you need to make the best decision possible. So, all righty.
Oop, hang on, sorry.
Go ahead,
One
Katie.
question might actually be parallel to what we're talking about, but we've been talking locally about revising our bylaws, and we were encouraged to hold off doing that until the bylaws work group was done meeting. I don't think they're working on anything like that. They're just talking about the dues, and that does not
No,
sound right.
there's nothing. Yeah, the bylaws language review committee, all that they do is review to make sure that they're in order.
Okay.
So that's already been passed through, and that's why we see it. Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what you may be talking about is that component work group that we had. That was one of the things that we're going to offer to the components, assistance in revising their bylaws.
Okay.
And that was put on hold until we could hire a component coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just starting right now.
Okay.
We do see that coming out probably within the next year.
In the next year. Okay.
I mean, we've got to onboard somebody, and
Okay.
but it's still on the list. We didn't forget about it.
Okay, but it's still kind of a ways off.
I
Not
would
too
say
far.
at least till summer.
Have you hired somebody and you still have to onboard them, or are you still looking?
I'm not sure if they hired somebody yet or not. They're
We-
close.
They're nearing completion of that. The person hasn't started yet, but I believe that they are finalizing the interviews.
Yeah, from the board perspective, having that person in place is something the board is strongly behind. And just because of last year with the changes that occurred after, with the pandemic and everything else, that was pushed until starting in January. So that's when the process got going. But if not, I'd be happy once we get through the season, if anybody because with West Michigan, I'd be happy to help. With that, I get to visit Deb Peters about every other week right now as we're working on our presentation. So we could just meet at Chick-fil-A by her house, and I'll help you out.
It's right by my office. It's fine.
Okay, good. So, yeah, if you have a Chick-fil-A by, I will come by, but I got to be careful how much of that stuff I eat because
We can meet right by the plate land. It'll be fine.
Oh, all right, cool. All right. Anything else? All right. Seeing none, we are not ready to vote. Michelle, are you just fixing your hair? They're not another
I
statement.
was just itching. No, I'm fine.
You make me nervous. Okay. All right. To everybody again, thank you so much. If anything comes up with a question, give me a phone call. Let me know. Give me a text, as Brian will, with that. But as we hear anything, I will make sure to let you know. Michelle will be in contact with you as well as things come up, if there's any changes we have. And again, thank you for your participation, and look forward to seeing you next week at the trainings that we have in the coming weeks, as well at the reference committee in April. Thanks again.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Yep.